are the denizens of the dark, cloaked in blackest shadow. We are the fallen angels, soaring through ebon skies upon ravens' wings. We are the wolves that prowl the midnight hours to prey upon the heartless. We are the descendants of the dragon's blood, the keepers of the ancient flame. We are the chosen ones who dare to explore the mysteries of the unseen realms. We are Legion, for we are many. And united, we cannot be vanquished.
So piecing together the story hidden between the lines of the religious texts is that God, the true God or the true Satan, one of the two, was defeated in a battle that occurred before the creation of the earth, and that he and his power was banished into the outer fringes of existence. Or perhaps it was both. Maybe God has been taken possession of by this taint of evil, and they both were cast into the outer fringes. This conclusion comes from both the Christian and Catholic accounts of the battle in heaven that cast down Satan, and from other religious texts such as the Titanic, which details the war of the primordial gods against the force they call chaos, where Uranus defeats the enigma and casts him and his power into the same outer darkness, unable to take form within creation. This is also supported by the fact of the descriptions of God and how he exists beyond the edges of creation within heaven and cannot be looked upon or even speak to the mortals, as his voice would shatter their frail forms. This all leads to the same basic description of the same being. This would ultimately be the same being who brought me before him and had given me my title as Lucifer, as well as the same being who appeared before Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, and many others. His angels follow a set path and design of rules and duty that adheres to his will, not their own. Which makes me curious as to the origin and design of mankind. All things on this world seem to follow a set cycle of symbiotic existence with each other, except man. Mankind seems to be set against that cycle, but when examining it from a distance, mankind is and was born forth from this symbiotic cycle, as their entire genetic structure and life force flow is synchronized with the earth and its ecological cycles. Now, what I am sensing from this depiction, though it shrouds itself in a divine illusion, this overall character is basically evil in nature, and so it cannot be the true God, merely a mister, but had a head collage of my beliefs made to try and convince me it's God. You know, I'm beginning to think what we have here are a bunch of New Age covens being fooled into doing the dirty work of darker forces that dare to defy my authority as Hell's Keeper. I have ways of dealing with that, but even more I sense they are trying to convince the world in order to try and convince and gain witnesses from the world for their arrestment to deeds that hide their true agenda. The thing is that even if this were true, I've seen enough to understand that in his position as the creator of all things, there are going to be moments when he has to seem like the bad guy to most, because all things have a beginning and an end. As the creator, it is ultimately up to him to decide when and how that will come about. I see what you are doing, Joachim, and it's about damn time I get handed the truth. That is why I couldn't accept any other explanation I had been given, because it wasn't containing the truth, this truth. Pledging my allegiance to someone who begins explaining themselves with a lie just was not something I couldn't consciously do. For you see, it does not matter when choosing to have faith in you being who you say. Accepting you for being you has nothing to do with whether you're a benevolent or malevolent being. Only that you truly are who you say. And I see the subtle explanation as to your reasons for doing what has been done now. So you've got some aspects about you that some consider evil because they don't understand the full scope of what it means to truly be God, the maker of all things from their beginning to their end. If you had approached it this way before, no, I still would have had to come to this realization first. Well, we've already passed the point of my aspect as the devil being crucial to creation, and anyone else in this position would have led to the destruction of the world. That passed with me standing in Putin's way the way I did. Now people constantly argue the validity of my claim to this role, as if I see myself as Barakiel, the angel of the principality of evil, or some other delusional figure. Consulting with the Lord on this subject, briefly considering the question of whether I am an angel at all, has come up countless times, and the response that subtly presented itself in ways that, to the average viewer, would be hard-pressed to be able to deny that an intrusive influence seemingly just manifested itself within my writings that has an obvious overbearing presence in the way it presents itself that leaves little room to dismiss as neither a scripted show of my own design, nor is it anything controlled or derived from my own will of imagination. Sometimes it is not so profound in its appearance within my works, subtle and gaining momentum within the overall topic I may be discussing, as if it literally grew within the plot line of my story, rising from an intangible character within a fictional story into a character possessing its own separate persona and existing within the boundaries of the topic's overall outline. This presence, which usually will explain promptly and to the point exactly who it is and describes its reason for being there in ways that leave even the most stout atheist scratching their head and searching for logical explanations to describe what is occurring without sounding like he's just making up excuses to deny the obvious proof to what he has denounced for so long to never have existed, or just plain sounding like he has no idea what he's trying to talk about and only succeeding at sounding like a moron more so than offering any explanation other than it is what it says it is. On these many occasions that the presence of the Lord will appear the overall point that it makes clear, but also I find they can be applied at times to situations and questions that have not even come about when I wrote it. But one of the consistent themes that repeats itself is that regardless of what church, priest, devotional, or please check other box if none of these description apply to you, says I am, and have never been completely banished from heavens as an angel, and that I am not, as the legends have portrayed me to seem like, and that my name and deeds have and always will be found within heaven, and that God does not truly despise me nor want to really destroy me because he designed every aspect of my life just as he has with everyone else. To desire to destroy or rain down holy flying baby diaper nuggets of brimstone and sulfur filled with dramatically embellished Catholic hellfire would be unnecessary, for if he had any reason to be mad it would be at himself. For as I've said before, he wrote the script. For example, as I am writing this here, he suggests the topics I should speak about and the responses I should consider, but ultimately, it is my decision as to how I am going to go about approaching the topic's discussion and the overall details that lead up to describing what he wishes for the plotline's impression to be seen as, in order for what he is trying to say to be correctly understood by those who hear and listen to these words, and at times these words are meant to be heard by individuals many years into the future. Sometimes I am given visions of heavenly events, aspects of God's intentions towards his angels, visions of holy places never seen by the eyes of man. Let me rephrase that, cause I did not see them with my eyes exactly. Heavenly places, they do not have just a physical appearance. They emulate waves of their divinity and purpose. All things are understood about it when gazing at it. Its physical appearance usually is only there to make the epiphany you have when you see it easier to understand when you do. All this can be summed up into this simple sentence that is repeated many times within the scriptures. Let he who hath understanding know this to be truth. Or just, let he who hath understanding, which can be compared to saying, if they don't seem to understand what I'm talking about, that's because they weren't actually listening in the first place. That is part of the reason I turned off the comments on my channel, because the questions many were asking weren't because they were actually curious, but because they were using it as an excuse to corner me into being seen as they wanted people to see me so they could justify their actions and opinions against me, which is unfortunate. I enjoyed being able to answer questions, because there are many times when there is just not enough space to include every detail that occurred, and I wouldn't get a chance to include aspects that I wanted to fit within the video. Now as for my role's meaning, let it be known and clear here in the beginning of this new age of mankind. My role is ultimately, by God's last command to me in person, was to be the keeper of perdition until the end of the world, where I would be free to roam and do as I please for a short time, in which I am to spread my chaos and topple the kingdom of the disbelievers who speak disgraceful things in and about his name. That I shall be the harbinger of his wrath upon mankind for their blasphemies that have led to the endangerment of his creation so many times. That last part was a guess, actually. I was never told what for in detail, only instructed on when and what. As by what I was told when he made the sigil of Shiva, the final seal of God, Apollyon. That when the time comes by these 3 signs, then you know that it will be your time to rise to sway the power of the kings of the nations. This will mark the beginning of these events that shall be a sign of the wrath of God to be loosed up the earth. And he is to be given the key to the bottomless pit at that time. That's all I remember, and that I think there were 11 letters to God's name on the seal's door, at the gates of the city of Erin.
Hell Incorporated is not a subsidiary company, but a branch of the divine aspirations of God, the creator and architect of the universe. It was made solely for the purpose and reason to handle the greedy, unintelligent, manipulators and other various forms of idiots who think that getting ahead in life comes easier by the misfortune of others for your benefit. This is not an equal opportunity employment agency, as demons do not have a gender or ethnicity to eliminate any problems from the living being transposed upon the dead. As so it forewarns, this is an extremely hostile work environment, so racial vulgarities, demeaning comments, offensive and derogatory expressions should be not only expected, but supported as well. Any issue with ethnicity should be taken up with the extremely large red guy with big horn sitting near the oddest place in this region you can find. This legal disclaimer adheres to all denizens in hell and does not apply to residents of said region. This power and authority is granted by the Holy of Holies upon my appointment to the position of the Keeper of Perdition, which is the place of punishment of the wicked and sinful. He is not eternal, and has a set limitation of 7 years. If within those 7 years the acquisition soul can show signs of acknowledgement and regret for the choices which led him to being damned in the first place, then those souls may become eligible to enter a time of peace and serenity in a region that shall be known as Providence, where they will be given the chance to acquire redemption for their sins through understanding of the teachings of figures of profound peace such as Jesus the Christ, the Buddha, or other such individuals or iconic mentors, wise men or teachings of inspiration that may include a figure from their recent culture as a start towards enlightenment. The final stage of his process shall be before the Lord himself, where they shall be given an opportunity to profess their understanding of salvation as they are to understand the wisdom of the prophets, that his will was passed unto man by. After this it shall be decided whether the individual is to return to life and reincarnate for a second chance to achieve the purpose in which God had designed them for. Hell is not eternal, and should not be viewed as such, for if it was, there would be no justice or equilibrium in the universal balance of life, and the resentment for living would eventually destroy the very fabric of life itself, imploding on its own desire to exist. For all other inquiries, please see the Master Soul contract for any reference adjudications other than this one. As that being said, any and all statements made by the CEO of his company, Lucifer B. Mephistopheles, should not be taken in a literal sense unless accompanied by quoted words of the prophets, or other such holy figures and or angels that would confirm that what he professes is by God's will through him to try and work his will upon the sinfully condemned. Any other form of statements made are to be considered questionable, as they may have come from Lucifer himself, or from one of the denizens within hell that may have tainted this vessel of God's will to the condemned spirits. This authority does not extend beyond perdition, unless it is in the interest of acquiring assistance from mortals who show promise of being a valuable resource for the function of perdition's success. These chosen mortals must be approved by heaven, who works towards the interest of creation's success and protection, by God, who is the lead designer and architect of creation, and by Lucifer's approval by representation in an informal, closed doors, meeting of divine powers that shall be known as the Gathering of Providence. It should also be made clear that it is because of his appointment to the Keeper of Perdition that his intentions should be questioned, but not denied unless proven otherwise. All other inquirers please write to the I don't give a shit department, Suite 636, in the multiverse complex of I say so, because here and I say so, I say so. User's discretion is advised.
From Channel 3 Action News, we're here in Possum Cornhole Ranch here in Winder, Georgia, where we're laying witness to the mad cow disease. The terrible affliction that's plagued European headlines for months now has made its way here to Winder, Georgia. We're here with one of the owners of the stricken bovines, Mr. Bobby Possumcods. Mr. Possumcods, what's going on with this mad cow disease?
Well, about 2 weeks ago, I noticed them acting funny, eating shit, stuff like that. And then one night I caught him outside my house, letting the air out of my tractor tires. And then I asked him about it, and he didn't say anything. He just slapped his shit out of my wife. And then I could tell from that he was pretty pissed off.
He was visibly pissed, actually.
Oh, shit!
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a very mad cow here.
What the fuck? Cow sucking, goddamn fucking sucking motherfuckers! Goddamn this fucking barrel! I don't want a goddamn cow anymore!
Is this the real life? fantasy, caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Open your eyes, look up to the skies and see. I'm just a poor boy, I need no sympathy, because I'm easy come, easy go, little high, little low. Any way the wind blows doesn't really matter to me, to me. Mama just killed a man, put a gun against his head, pulled my trigger, now he's dead. Mama, life had just begun, but now I've gone and thrown it all away. Mama, didn't mean to make you cry. If I'm not back again this time tomorrow, carry on, as if nothing really matters. Too late, my time has come, sent shivers down my spine, body's aching all the time. Goodbye, everybody, I've got to go, gotta leave you all behind and face the truth. Mama, I don't wanna die. I sometimes wish I'd never been born at I see a little silhouette of a man. Scaramouche, will you do the fandango? Thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening me. Galileo, Figaro. Magnifico! I'm just a poor boy, nobody loves me. He's just a poor boy from a poor family, sparing his life from this monstrosity. Easy come, easy go, will you let me go? Bismillah, no, we will not let you go. Let him go! Bismillah, we will not let you go. Let him go! Bismillah, we will not let you go. Let me go! We'll not let you go. Let me go! We'll not let you go. Let me go! Oh, mamma mia, mamma mia. Mamma mia, let me go. Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me. For me, for me. So you think you can stop me and spit my eye? So you think you can love me and leave me to die? Oh, baby, can't do this to me, baby. Just gotta get out, just gotta get right
inside. Gear up.
We're taking the